Yo!
Yo,
What's going on, man?
bro, appreciate you, bro. I'm
Absolutely, man. The
man.
pleasure's mine, brother. How's everything, man?
Everything is everything, man. Trying to stay creative. The music industry, man. We done got hit, bro, by this thing, man.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like we got to trying to stay creative, in the midst of all of that has been an interesting experience. Let's just say,
Definitely interested.
man,
What's
dude,
going on with you, man?
I was telling Madeline, I was like, yo, I got a lot of questions, so I'm gonna dive into it because, as a creative myself, I'm someone who has a voice. I grew up, around family members in church playing and singing and everything, so
Yeah,
it just came naturally. So I like to talk to people who have been able to traverse this path, and just really get some insight from them. And a lot of times people who are tuning in, they want to get insight as well. They're up and coming or aspiring or whatever. So I wanted to ask you or start a little bit about origin. So I saw South Carolina, as well as you've got some Detroit, a little bit of
yeah,
Detroit roots too.
yeah, man. I was born in Orangeburg, South Carolina, and I was raised in Detroit since 3 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
You got the best
Yep.
of both worlds, bro. Like,
Yeah, yep. Yeah, man. Went
did
from
you?
being hot to freezing cold.
Yeah, right. So let me ask you, growing up in Detroit, because Slum Village, Motown, like it's a melting pot of music. Given the family dynamic with music, was R&B and hip hop easily accessible for you, or did you have to kind of find that on your own?
Man, well, growing up, when I was first growing up, only thing accessible was gospel. That was it. That's all we heard. It was everywhere. But I started, on my own, turning the dials to the radio stations and listening to different things. And that's when I was really I became very intrigued and interested in pop music, R&B music. Um, Not so much hip hop. I knew about hip hop because a lot of my friends would bring the Run DMC tapes, the Beastie Boy tapes to school, and they would play them. So I understood it. But when I was younger, I was more attracted to uh, things that had more musical elements in it. Because remember, back in the day when hip hop, it was just the beat, the drums, and the rap. You know what I'm saying? Which I appreciate and I like too. But I was just more drawn to all the different type of colors from the musical instruments and elements. So, yeah, I found my way to it, and once I found it, man, it stuck.
Wow. Okay, so I've heard stories about your prowess on drums. All right. Um, but being a multi-instrumentalist, what was the transition like going from one instrument to another? Was it pretty easy or?
It was honestly, it kind of transitioned like this. It went from drums to adding on a drum machine to the side of the drums. You know what I'm saying? And then from that, my mom brought home one day when I was 14. I think she brought home a bunch of musical equipment. It was a Tascam 4-track. I
Wow.
think it was a Roland MK50 or something like that. It was a sequencer and a keyboard. And so from then, that's where the production started. You know what
Wow.
I'm saying? I knew two chords, so I had a bunch of tracks with different drums, same chords. But it was able to grow from there, man.
Wow. So in terms of keys, you just continue to mess around with chords until you got
Yeah,
them? Or how?
yeah.
Wow.
I just continued to mess around with it. Sometimes I sat next to my dad. He taught me some chords. Matter of fact, Donnie McClurkin taught me a few songs. Um, Whenever he was at the house, and I just like fell in love with it, man. And then from that, the funny thing about it is like the makeup of my subconscious when it comes to music. It kind of started early with like Bruce Hornsby, of course Quincy Jones, David Foster, and Teddy Riley. So that kind of makeup and Phil Collins, like it was like a broad spectrum of people that I was like drawn to as far as the music and how the music made me feel. And I think that's why I'm always keen on telling people and teaching and sharing people that, man, you have to have feeling in your music, you know, and that's what makes music last forever. It's the feeling in it.
Mm, okay. So let's talk about your journey from a production standpoint.
Okay.
Um, you have the distinction of being a part of one of the most successful and influential groups of creatives in the Hitmen. I mean, like the soundtrack. I mean, everything. You know, everything I went through with a girl, I could pull out a record that y'all did basically, and let it be the soundtrack. I was curious how that relationship got started for you.
Man, well, to be honest with you, it came through a friend because when I first started producing R&B and hip hop, I was signed to Dallas Austin, right? Who's actually my second cousin on my mother's side of the family. Found
Wow.
that out after I signed. How crazy is that, right? We're actually related. And then Kevin Wells is a great friend of mine. He worked with Dallas at the time, and I knew he had some affiliation with Puffy and Bad Boy through 112, right? So I was sitting in Atlanta and I was watching TV, and back to back to back Bad Boy videos just kept coming on, and so I was reading the credits, and I was like, man, this crew is really, really, really dope. And I was like, you know what? I want to get with this crew. So I went in my room, I closed the door, I prayed, right? It's the first thing I did. And then I came out of the room and I called Kevin Wells. He called Puff, called me back in 10 minutes with a phone number. I'll talk to Puff. I flew to New York that weekend, and that was it.
Wow.
Shout out to my man Kevin Wells. He made that connection happen. Yep.
Okay, Wells.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Dot connectors, man. Oh man.
Yep.
So when you started with the Hitmen, did you have a particular area of focus? Because I knew you were bringing a lot of talents to the table. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? When I first started, man, I really did more just like absorbing the surroundings and just kind of really watching how everything uh, was moving. You know what I'm saying? And watching the process and watching the just like the ferociousness of talent and approach, you know, with all of the guys in the Hitman. And so it just made me like, I'm like, wow, this is crazy. And then, you know, I played my part, you know, and then the drums came into play because I think Puff was doing a couple of shows. And my man Stevie J, shout out to Stevie J.
DVJ.
I was like, yo, I play the drums. So I played at a rehearsal, and then he was like, yo, tell that drummer that we got, he's gonna play percussions. Mario's gonna play the drums. So I played. I think we was rehearsing for Jay Leno or something like that. And then ever since then, like I was everything drum related. I played on all of that, and then it just it just developed into great relationships, man. With all of the Hitman, a great relationship with my brother Puff, and I just played my position, and from that, it made room for me to become, or to have my own staple within that crew of greatness.
Wow. I think that's real important because a lot of times, cats just want to walk in and they want to immediately grab the
Yeah,
aux cord. You feel me? And
yeah, yeah. Nah. It wasn't going like that. It wasn't none of that. It was very much order, and you had to. You wasn't going to just it wasn't handed to you. You understand what I'm saying? It wasn't like, okay, well, you're going to be on this album. No, you had your shot. When it was time to shoot your shot, you had to shoot your shot. You know what I'm saying? And so
yeah.
I just was like, okay, not only am I going to shoot the shot, I'm going to tear the whole rim off the backboard. You know what I'm saying? And take the rim home with me. You know what I mean? So that was just my approach because, that's just the energy and the vibe that was there, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when it comes to drum programming, let's
Mm-hmm.
talk about drum programming. As a drummer, what's your approach to drum programming? Because I've heard some records by drummers, right? And they're programming this.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I tell musicians sometimes because I've had phenomenal keyboard players tell me, oh man, I want you to listen to some of my tracks, and then I listen to them, and I'm like, man, this is I could tell you're a musician. You can't when you produce, you have to produce for the record. You can't produce for your talent and what you're able to do because you tend to tilt that scale, and it's like, okay, okay, this sounds like a great keyboard player, but where's the feeling and where's the song? You know what I'm saying? So for me, my approach is always the feeling, man. You know, I mean, even as a drummer, you know, you're taught and you're supposed to be, you know, about timing. You know what I'm saying? And for me, for the most part, my quantize is off when I'm creating my drums. And for y'all though that may not know what quantize is, when you quantize your drums, it makes everything perfect, like everything perfect. But it takes this out of it. So for me, it was always the feeling, man. The feeling.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you go through moments where you're creating where you just want to produce, or you just want to write, or you just want to sing, or is it all kind of meshed together?
Yeah, you know what? It's whatever light kind of comes on. You know what I'm saying? So there's some times to where I like a song will come in my head and I'll just write it down. And then there's some times where I may just come and, you know, just play the piano and just feed myself through that. And, you know, so it just depends on which light comes on at that time. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
Like
Gotcha.
I'm not biased either one. Whichever comes on, I just go with it.
Cool. Listen. Wow. Okay, so then on I Don't Want to Know, did you know that was for you as an artist, or?
You know, what I did know, the funny thing about that song, man, I had taken some time from our studio, Daddy's house, and I just, because every now and then I would just take a break, right? And I would just take my equipment, go to like a studio where they have like whatever the smallest room they had, and I would just lock myself in that room and just create by myself for days and days and days. Like I just needed, sometimes you have to come out of the light sometimes to really just get a breather, right? So, and that day I did I Don't Want to Know, I actually did, it's a record I did for Benzino called Rock the Party. So I did both of those records in the same day. But I was just really going through some things, and what made me know that record was for me is because of how I delivered it. And it was so close to home. You know, a lot of people was like, oh man, that's such a sad record, this and that. And I was like, man, listen, man, that's how I felt. You know, I sang what I felt, man. And but I knew it was for me because of how I delivered it. And when I sang it, I was like, man, this record, it has to stay here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have there been other records that you've kind of gotten to a point and you're like, this is jamming, but it ain't for me? Is it easy for you to make that decision?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's a tug. Whenever I try to give it away, it's like a tug, you know. And there's been opportunities where I was able to give some amazing records to people, but I was just like, no, I can't do it, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Man.
It's hard to come off those records sometimes, man, because you know what it means to you, and then the delivery of it. You know, like certain records, certain people have to sing their records.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Do you like to get involved in the vocal production side of it if it's a record that you've kind of sculpted from the vocal standpoint, or do you just let that, you kind of stay away from it?
Oh no, I'm hands on from top to bottom. I have to be, bro. You know, and I know it. You know, it's kind of like, you know, these days they're like, you know, just send us the song. We're gonna get it and send it back. And I mean, and sometimes, you know, depending on the artist, you can do that because they know how to deliver songs. But then there's certain situations to where now you gotta really help, you know, deliver. A woman ain't going to the hospital and they say, okay, well, you go in there, you go ahead and have that baby on your own. Just let us know when he comes out, and then we'll come in and take the baby and do our part. No, that doctor's in there from the beginning to make sure that baby comes out correct. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So that's really my approach when it comes to music, man. It's all they all babies, man, and they can grow to have a lifelong span. You know what I'm saying? If you make sure that feeling is in it, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a word right there for the folks out there. Okay, so your discography speaks for itself. And I wanted to ask some questions about some records in particular. So obviously you got Summertime, Peaches and Cream was my jam. Last night, I saw somebody mention Last Night. Last Night is always just the feel, you know, it goes back to the feel. Just the drums with that ding 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 ding, like all that together, it's man, it's crazy. It's crazy. But I mean, and the Faith records too, and you know what I'm saying, Heaven Only Knows, all them gems. I wanted to ask you about Can't Be Friends though.
Okay.
What was the process like for creating that?
Man, so I tell people this sometimes, man, and like, you know, you don't just turn your creativity on when you enter in the studio. Um, I'm one to believe, and it's always worked for me, that there's a time when you're not actually creating, but you're still being creative. So I always take time to feed my conscious, feed my subconscious with all different types of music. I study different cultures, all different types of instruments. So at this particular time, I had one of my drum machines by the side of my bed, and I just would get up every day and I would just collect sounds and create sounds and sample different pieces and elements and stuff like that, in preparation for the next time I was going to the studio. And so I was watching this movie called Babel with Brad Pitt. You remember that movie?
Yeah.
All right. So I fell asleep, and the menu. You remember the DVDs? The menu screen, like when the movie goes off, the menu screen would just pop up and just repeat whatever. So there was this musical piece that I heard on the menu, which made me download the original music picture score, and that's the music that's played along in the film. And when I downloaded that, I came across this Ryuichi Sakamoto record, and I sampled it, chopped it up, sampled it, threw it in the drum machine, and I think about a couple of weeks later, I went to the studio and created for about 2 or 3 weeks, and that was one of the tracks that I created. And then one of my writing partners at the time, Michael Jones, I had one side of the studio, he had the other side. I sent that track over there, and this man wrote a complete smash.
Wow.
And that's how that happened.
That's crazy.
Crazy
That's
story,
crazy.
right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because like when you're talking about always kind of still being in that creative mindset, sometimes that drives people crazy when you're around them. You could be completely doing something different, and then you might hear something in the elevator or something like that.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh man.
Yeah.
You know what
My
I'm saying?
Shazam, listen, my Shazam is so full of different things. It's unfreaking believable, man. It's
Wow.
crazy, bro. Yeah. But it's always been like that. So just like having access to be able to catch different things like that, I mean, listen, when I tell you I have thousands of vinyl records, it's another thing I can encourage producers, man. Like, go listen to these records, man. Listen to the different sonics, everything. We're in a digital age, but you should check out some different waveforms and some different vibes and different approaches, man, because it's where music comes from. We can't really know where we're going if we don't know where we're coming from. So I think that's important too for the young kids out there that's out there doing it and getting it, man. Be responsible for the gift that you have, and make sure you're looking always at the bigger picture, which is the people, which is the global, the world. Like I always tell people, I produce for the world. I don't produce for the record labels. I don't produce. Yeah, you produce for the artists, but my end goal and my mindset has always been the people and the masses. Yeah.
So working in multiple genres, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of times people want to just put you right here,
Right. Right.
And you're one of the few that's been able to be in multiple genres and not just exist, but to be able to thrive. And I was curious, how do you maintain the authenticity when you're going from one genre to another? Is it because of what you've heard, ingested, or how is it?
Yeah, well, when I do a lot of studying, man, I've always studied, and that's what I was saying. Like when I take those times to feed my subconscious and I feed my conscious all of these different things, when it comes time to create, it just comes out through your gift. You understand what I'm saying? But you have to put into and pour into your gift, and your gift will pour out for others. You understand what I'm saying? So I think that's how I've been able to be uh, was blessed to be able to do that, because I've always studied all the way across the board. You know what I'm saying? Like there's just people like Sting and Phil Collins and all of these different artists and all these different musicians, Chick Corea, the Brecker Brothers, and Yellow Jackets, and there's just so many different um, genres that I listen to. You know, it just comes out of me naturally, man, and I'm grateful for that.
Man, that's dope. So when it comes to technology, are you one that likes to stay on? You keep riding the horse that you came in on, or how has that been? You know, are you super techie when it comes to like DAWs and production? I mean, you know, production software and equipment and all of that.
Yeah, well, you know what? I like to stay informed because there's always interesting things that come out with all of these different softwares. Um, you know, because it enhances. Also, sometimes it can, if you really allow it, it can enhance what you do. But also, if you allow it, it can cripple what you do because sometimes too much access and too much stuff going around can really take away from your creativity. So sometimes I have to turn that off and just go write a song at the piano. You know, I'll sit. Sometimes if I'm working with an artist, I'll say, you know what, we're gonna go sit at the piano. We're gonna write all the songs at the piano, and then I'll go and produce the records after that. You know, just so that we don't create, we don't start with the platforms and the digital and all that type of stuff. Because at the end of the day, it's about the song and it's about the feeling. So to answer your question, yeah, I stay informed. You know what I'm saying? Like I pretty much got all of the different softwares, so I like go and mess with all of them and create sounds and stuff like that.
Man, all right, all right, all right. Well, okay. So from a vocals perspective, I'm curious. Who would you say your most profound influences are vocally? Some of them, I know there's probably a ton, but
man, well, I mean, I have to go with my dad, Marvin Winans. You know what I'm saying? I grew up hearing him and BB and CC. Like this is what I heard on a daily basis.
Wow.
All my life, the Clark sisters and Commission, and so this is what vocal talent I was raised on. You know what I'm saying? And so that's just always been my staple, man. Dinah McClurkin and all of these different artists, people, like they were just around all day, every day. You know what I'm saying? And then, but of course, Stevie Wonder. You know, of course, Michael Jackson. Um, I mean, there's a ton, man.
Yeah.
But even on the flip side of it, Sting, the subtleness of his voice, but how he uses his voice. There's no other. There's only one Sting, man. That man's voice is incredible, and his natural range is bananas. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes you'll miss how crazy and dope his range is because it's so effortless with him. So it's a wide range, man. You know what I'm saying?
I love the fact that you said Sting, man. I had the fortune of being able to write a single for him and play and collaborate with him, and I remember rehearsing with him, and it was like his musical understanding is man.
Wow, bro.
Amazing. And vocally, his understanding of where to go, you know what I'm saying?
Bananas, yo. I'm the biggest Sting fan. Carl Thomas, Emotional, I shape of my heart. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's where that was born, man, from a Sting record, man.
Man. And a smash though, you know what I'm saying? So there's something to be said about, talent is talent, but when you really love music,
yeah,
and your ear, and when you can hear there's a gift in being able to hear, that's going to move people as well. And I think, like you said about the input informing the output.
Yeah.
Man, how can you not have some element of greatness in you when that's being poured into you and you're allowing yourself to be influenced by it? I think that's a very profound element, Yeah,
man. We got a great responsibility, man, to do that, man. If we're going to be creatives and have access to the masses, man, we have to be as prepared as possible.
Yeah.
I just really believe that, man.
Have you ever thought about this is just a complete, this wasn't even in my list of questions. Have you ever thought about the executive side of music?
What's funny you say that, because that's where I've been moving um, and working as of late. Like I still, produce records and stuff like that, but I've been the musician, I've been the producer, I've been the writer, I've been the artist. So now what I'm doing is pouring into the younger generation and pouring into these kids to help them along the way with the things that I've learned and been blessed to have success and growth at. So I've definitely been more on the executive side because I think it's important for us to pour into these younger kids to really give them a full understanding of what it is that they're doing and how deep it is, so they don't take it for granted and they really have a sense of accountability for the gift that they have, and to continue to put out quality music, man, and to uplift them. And so that's where that's funny you say that, because that's really what I've been doing as of late.
Dope, man.
You know?
Okay, so you know how people are always like, there's this thing in the music industry where it's like, when you grow up in the music industry and you have bumps and bruises along the way, sometimes there are cats out there who are like, man, that's just the way the music industry is. And they kind of want to put that pressure on that person they're maybe mentoring or whatever, because they're like, yo, this is kind of how I came up. This is, what I feel like needs to happen. Do you feel like part of your mentoring is to shape a creative in the same way you were shaped in some of those lessons, or is it to make the access or the information easier for them to get?
Man, absolutely not. If someone that I'm mentoring is going through the same thing I'm going through, then I'm failing them. My whole thing is to make the way better, to make the way easier, to make it lighter, so that they are not distracted and jaded by some of the darker parts of this music game. You understand what I'm saying? So I suffered that, so they don't have to suffer that, and I will never allow that, man. And I'm very protective over the younger generation, man, and because they are the future, so it's important that we do right by them. You understand what I'm saying? We give them a better blueprint. The things that we learn and the do's and the don'ts and some of our mistakes, we just make sure they don't make those mistakes, and we just make sure that road is easy. And if we see a bump ahead, we can tell them, no, you're gonna run into this, but this is how you get around this. You understand what I'm saying? So that's my approach to that.
Man, I hope everybody is listening. I am Kameron Corvet. I'm Kandid with Mr. Mario Winans.
Yes, sir.
And I appreciate it.
My pleasure, man.
Immensely. Wow. Let's see here. Let's ask some more interesting things. When it comes to songwriting, would you say the feel element is the same too? Are you know what I'm saying? Is it?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, the feeling is, well, I think if there's, yeah, I think the feeling goes all the way across the board. But I think also when it comes to the lyric part, I think you have to understand how to tell a story. And I think those are the best songs where, and also a good amount of relatability. You know what I'm saying? So people can relate to something and can understand something. There's sometimes, where you can write a song and have something new to where you're enlightening people to. But I think it has to be relatable, and within that being relatable, that feeling's still there. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I would say, to answer your question, yeah, the feeling goes all the way across the board.
Wow.
When people feel good and they smiling, that's what you want.
Yeah.
Even if it's a song that makes them cry, the crying is coming from a release. So it's not like the song is making them sad. There's a release there. So it's pulling out an emotion for them. So, I just think it's important, man, to focus on the feeling, because either way, what you say and how you say it makes people feel a certain way.
So how do you discover new music?
I listen to a lot of music, man, and I'm very open. I get a lot of times people send me stuff, and I get DMs all the time. And I really try to pay attention and listen to stuff. I mean, because listen, man, you know, I never want to get to the point where I'm just cut off from someone else's approach to try to have me listen to music. Like, oh, he's sending me DMs, I'm not gonna listen. Why? I mean, this is just me. Like, why? Like, why not? You understand what I'm saying? So, and then I've found some very talented people from taking time to just listen to someone's creativity. Like, I would never close the door on someone that's trying to be creative, because you never know who you could be helping, and you never know who you could be hindering by how you respond to someone or not respond to someone, you know?
Yeah. So in a period of, let's say, creative block, I don't want to say writer's block, it could be, you know, what is it that you do kind of to get yourself out of it?
Feed my conscience more, go listen to more music, go study, you know, live some more, you know what I'm saying? I stopped thinking. You know what I'm saying? I just stopped thinking. I'm like, okay, I'm thinking. Usually for me, when I get in like a writer's block, I'm thinking too much. You understand what I'm saying? It's supposed to flow, man. You know, when you have the gift, you don't have to give to the gift. The gift is already there. You understand what I'm saying? So as long as you're doing your part, I mean, you give to the gift by studying all of that, but you don't have to like control it. It's gonna work automatically as long as you're prepared. When, like I said, like when you do your studying and stuff like that. So I'll just stop thinking and I'll just start listening to music, or I'll start, you know, appreciating some other cultures, or, you know, that's what I do. I don't force it, man. If I ain't feeling it, nah, I'm good. I'll just let it go.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Go eat some ice cream or something. There's been times, man, to where I've had like moments to where I'm like, okay, it ain't really clicking. Left the studio to go get some snacks, because I'm snack. They call me the snack king, by the way. To go get some snacks, and saw something, or maybe seen a couple having a conversation, and it triggered what I actually was looking for. You know, so that's what I mean when I say just live some more, you know, because it's going to come.
Wow.
Yeah.
Gosh. This question is, at the start, let me ask this first, because I stumbled onto the instrumentals joint.
Oh, yeah.
And I was playing earlier before the interview, and I had to stop, but I'm trying to write, you know, do a solo to one of the joints that was on there, but I wanted to know what was the inspiration behind that, because not a lot of cats will do that.
Man, you know what's funny? I was just sitting in my studio one day, and the inspiration behind that, because if you notice, it's not like I didn't really make it to make like an instrumental album like I wanted to be over the top. I just took some tracks that I had, and my thought process behind that was, if I can put something out that writers would have some access to maybe go work on their craft, write some songs. Producers can listen to some different things, you know what I'm saying, up and coming producers or whatever the case may be, or singers or writers or rappers or whatever it may be, can have access to this and practice at their craft. That's really what it was about. It wasn't really about me putting out this phenomenal album. It was really me throwing something out there to say, hey guys, here's some tracks. Do your thing to it. You know what I'm saying? Work on your craft to it. Like, this is just from me to you. That's what that was about.
Man, Jim, this is Jim, man, for real.
Yeah, thank you.
Like, for somebody who's trying to practice, it's kind of like you get to the point where practicing scales and stuff is just practicing, but you want to be in the moment.
Man.
Yeah,
You know
man.
in the vibe, man. So, you know, that's what that was for me.
Man. All right, so man, I've gotten a lot of questions out. You would be surprised how many. I was like, I'm probably only going to get like 6 or 7 of these joints out, but I appreciate it because you've dropped some gems. I hope people have been listening. And this is going to be my last question, if you will. When you are blessed with more than one talent, more than one gift, and you love all of them, how do you how do you find the time to nurture all of them so that they all can thrive, and that you can have the, you know, like there have been times when I've walked in the studio and people have wanted a guitar player, and that's the way I've gotten access. But then, you know what I'm saying, it's turned into an opportunity for me to write or for me to sing or whatever the case may be. But how do you make sure all those talents are at a certain point to where you can take advantage of that opportunity or whatever? How have you been able to do it?
Oh man, you know, I think like each one of the gifts, man, they kind of push the other one. You know what I'm saying? They got, like, for me, if I'm in the room and they're wanting a producer, you know, naturally the melodies that I may play on a song or something like that is something that somebody else would hum. And if I hear it, then I can connect with them that way. It's always, they kind of connect on their own, man. And it all goes back to just really being accountable, man, and responsible for the gifts that we have, man. And I say that so much because, you know, if you're prepared and ready in all aspects, it's gonna flow regardless, man. You know, the song that I did with Puff years ago, it was a gospel record called "Best Friend," right? I was writing the hook for Babyface to be on that record, which legend to me.
Yeah.
I've studied Babyface for years, one of the greatest writers of all time. And when I went in there, of course, you just singing the hook, you singing the reference for Babyface, you're gonna sing it. But the way I felt about the song, the way the song, just the instrument was making me feel, and the fact that it was gonna be a song to God, our Creator, I just felt so overwhelmingly thankful and grateful for what the song was about. The way I sang it, Puff said, "Man, there's no way I can take you off of there." So in that instant, that's how that connected. So again, if you do it with feeling, if you do it and put your all in something and you're prepared, man, those doors will kind of open on their own for you.
Gotcha. What do you think about features as a, you know, like you've been featured, you know what I'm saying? Is featuring about being, you know, people used to tell me, man, you want to make sure to feature, you can envision the two people who are on the record, like in the same room together or kicking it together or this or that. And then sometimes people are like, yo, nah, the feature needs to be about the person's voice or whatever the case may be, if they got a signature voice or whatever. What's your opinion on features, like the rhyme or reason, I guess, behind a good feature?
Man, it's to me, it's about the song. You know, that's you know what I'm saying? It's about the song before the feature. And so if the feature should be about the enhancement of the song.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So if a person has a certain voice, a certain tone, it doesn't matter if they didn't have a number one, and I don't care how long. It's about the song. You understand what I'm saying? Because you want to enhance the song. You know, of course you have times where they're like, okay, this would be perfect. Have this person produce this record and these two artists produce this record. But then you have to create something that makes sense with who you've chosen. You know, so for me, features have always been about what's going to enhance that record.
Bam. Bam. Man, I appreciate you and your time. And before we go, I wanted to definitely tell you that man, you've been a tremendous like inspiration musically. The conversation lets me know I'm not crazy with some of the ideas that I have. It's cool to hear that. I'm like, yeah, you know. So that piece is like confirmation. You know, people can say you have great music, but when you realize that your thought process naturally is in alignment with people who have come before you and have been successful in the way you would like to be successful, it makes a difference. It's that affirmation that you need to keep pushing on. So I appreciate that 1000%. And I definitely, you know, I'm gonna you know, do the super slide on a tune or two, you know what I'm saying, just to get that perspective. But in closing, I just wanted to tell you I appreciate you, and I wanted to give you the floor to talk to people out here, because I know, you know, you're a mystery in a lot of different ways. So this is a rarity, and I wanted to let you close out for everybody who's been paying attention so far.
Man, listen, I just want to tell everybody, listen, y'all, stay safe. Be grateful for this life we've been given. And if you have an opportunity to help others, that's going to be the best thing you can do for yourself. Your biggest blessing is always outside of yourself. So always reach one, teach one, and help as many people as you can, man. And I love y'all.
Woo! Man, appreciate you once again, bro.
Absolutely, bro. Hit me up. Let's do something, man.
Bro, what? Yes. All right, bro. Stay safe.
All right, bro. God bless, man.
All right.
Peace.